Hey, everybody. My name is Ryan Nays. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys about the LGBTQIA community and their intersection with addiction and counseling. When researching this topic, I wanted to dig deep into what the community actually is, not just read it from a textbook. To be truthfully honest, until now, I have never truly done the work to comprehend what it is like to be LGBTQIA. What I gathered was shocking and honestly heartbreaking at times. For those who don't know, this acronym most commonly stands for lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, and asexual or ally. I have several good friends who are in this community, so I reached out to one in particular, and what she enlightened me on was groundbreaking. It made me have such a deeper respect for these individuals and what they go through on a daily basis. When we talk about any group and their norms, behaviors, etc., we run the risk of oversimplifying or being insensitive, especially within professional counseling. While it is important to have a knowledge base of different groups, I believe it is equally important to see each person for what they are, an individual. This became increasingly clear when I spoke to my friend. When talking with her about beliefs and norms, it was difficult to get just one answer from her. We must understand that not everyone in this community is just one letter of this LGBTQIA. They are not a monolith. Actually, they have a lot of commonalities within each other. One might be trans and intersex, or one might just be bi, and their worldviews will differ accordingly. There is no sense in pigeonholing anyone into one particular category. When we then add to this the weight of socioeconomic status or racial class, we can begin to see how complex treating someone from this group might actually be. The more you examine this group, the easier it is to see the extreme privilege that heterosexual individuals have within society. It was only a mere 6 years ago, in 2015, that the Supreme Court struck down state bans on same-sex marriages and required that states honor out-of-state same-sex marriages. And while recent polls found that 55% of Americans approve of same-sex marriages, the same poll also showed that 39% opposed it. It's no wonder that the average person does not even come out until age 25. How can you feel safe to be who you are in a world that doesn't even approve? Imagine discovering at an early age that you were attracted to the same sex or you identified as the opposite sex, but the world around you tells you that your inherent nature is wrong. Until very recently, we hadn't even begun to develop language to describe what LGBTQIA individuals go through, let alone appropriately explain to children or young adults the many ways they may be attracted to people or feelings they may have about their own identities. Of the individuals that do eventually decide to come out, 10 to 15% of them are rejected by their parents, often leading to homelessness and promiscuity or drug use as a result. It is estimated that up to 40% of homeless youths identify as LGBTQI. Same-sex marriage is only the tip of the iceberg in regards to the unequal treatment and rights disparities that LGBTQIA individuals experience. Many are not even protected from employment discrimination because sexual orientation was not listed in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Only 21 states and the District of Columbia today prohibit discrimination on gender identity. Even still, some states have passed religious freedom restoration acts to counter these advances, meaning that establishments can refuse secular services, such as serving food or renting property, based on sexual orientation. Healthcare discrimination is also a common experience, whether that be because of a provider not recognizing an individual's pronouns, or even outright rejecting a patient due to their sexual orientation. As an example, my friend and her girlfriend are currently trying to have a baby through insemination. This in itself is costly, meaning not all same sex couples would even have access to this option, depending on their socioeconomic class. To take it a step further, if her girlfriend does indeed succeed in becoming pregnant and having a child, they will incur legal fees in order for them both to have rights to their own child. My friend will be required to meet with social workers who will determine if she's a good fit so that she may have the opportunity to adopt her own child. This is something heterosexual couples never have to even think about. Society is set up to accept them. There is no red tape involved. Experiences like this are all too common within the LGBTQIA community, and that is important for counselors to be acutely aware of. Often, people may not even realize the internalized heterosexism that they hold. Even counselors are not immune to this. It is of the utmost importance that all people, counselors included, employ self-examination in order to make sure they have not internalized negative societal beliefs about a group of people. Unfortunately, the historical context of this group of people in relation to the disparity of treatment they received doesn't stop here. The FBI actually ranks anti-LGBTQIA violence as the second largest group of hate crimes after racial hate crimes in the United States. Many will remember the 2016 shooting at Pulse, the gay nightclub in Orlando, where 49 people were killed and 53 more wounded. It becomes easy to postulate that existing within a group so oppressed may lead to psychological distress and substance abuse. Almost everywhere, it is reinforced that certain aspects of the LGBTQIA lifestyle or identity are lesser than or undesired. You find it in gendered bathrooms, which require that a person fit into a tidy box, male or female. It can also be seen in the not so distant history of sexual orientation change efforts such as conversion therapies that pray it away, or Homosexuals Anonymous, which point to the societal belief that these identities are unwanted. Substance use can emerge as a coping mechanism when all of these factors are compiled upon an individual. While addiction and substance abuse are prominent in all walks of life, the rates are especially high in the LGBTQIA communities. Because heterosexism can lead to internalized homophobia, shame, and poor self-perception, some members of the LGBTQIA community resort to substance abuse as a way to mask these negative feelings. Also, the rejection one might face when they come out could lead them to start using drugs or even drinking more heavily. Another contributing factor to substance abuse within the LGBTQIA community is the lack of places for them to gather where they know they will feel safe and accepted. A person may not know if the owner or patrons of any given establishment, be it a restaurant or a park, harbor negative feelings towards gay or otherwise queer individuals. It becomes more and almost impossible to know whether or not a particular place is a friendly place to be. The most common safe spaces they do have are gay bars or nightclubs, which are filled with alcohol and drugs. It becomes wildly normal to partake in substances when they are so freely available. If there were more safe places such as gay coffee shops or other recreational activities, I believe we would see the substance abuse in these communities come down. Nothing is perfect, but making these small changes would drastically change the game for this community. They would just feel more accepted or just safer in general. Many naturally think that a counselor's office is a safe place to be for anyone, but it wasn't even that long ago that LGBTQIA individuals were pathologized within the professional counseling world just for identifying as a member of the group. It wasn't until 1998 when the American Counseling Association and the American Psychological Association passed resolutions opposing prior conceptions that people who are LGB by their very nature have mental disorders. This alone could lead to a reluctance in treatment, especially when counselors may assume things about their identities, rather than remaining open and addressing them as individuals with a wide array of complex experiences. The impact of negative societal attitudes towards LGBTQIA as a group alone is enough to bring someone into counseling. Once they arrive, it becomes part of a counselor's responsibility to create a safe space for them to be. Counselors must self-examine their own potential heterosexual bias, as well as their strengths and weakness in regards to treating an LGBTQIA client. They can also pay close attention to how they involve themselves in discourse, positioning, and deconstruction within their counseling sessions in order to be a better ally and advocate. Languaging is also critically important, as being aware of what pronouns or terms a client uses creates a feeling of safety for everyone involved. My friend shared that sometimes she just wished that a counselor would have just asked her for clarification rather than making assumptions. She felt that action alone would have created so much more trust. Counselors must begin to understand the many issues affecting the LGBTQIA population and learn how to adequately affirm their identities. The Association for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Issues in Counseling has created competencies for working with clients within the group. Some of these include focus on career and lifestyle development, human growth and development, and helping relationships. Over time, the counselor's goal has been to make a difference in the community. In recent history, though, some counselors have lost that focus. Just now are we starting to see counselors becoming agents of social change again. There are now so many valuable tools available and ways to be a more competent counselor. Examples of this could include actively fighting for policy change, giving back to their community, contributing to the schools, or even collaborating with other fields. What better way to help a client while also building trust by fighting firsthand for their rights? Current policy changes that counselors can be advocating for are HIV/AIDS funding, supporting stronger hate crime penalties, banning the practice of conversion therapy, and supporting anti-bullying laws by protecting youth who are LGBTQ. After gaining insight into a client's world, it becomes imperative from a social justice standpoint for counselors to go into clients' neighborhoods to see what changes they can help with. However, it is also incredibly important that counselors listen to the community leaders in regards to what needs to be changed versus them assuming what might need to be changed. Counselors need to also be a voice and ally for the LGBT community to make sure they have equal access to services. When talking about giving back to the schools, it is very important to address proper language for schools to use and really combat sexual harassment. They can also help families bridge the gap with schools so everyone is on the same page on what is best for the kids. The more conversation that occurs across fields, the more competent we will all be. Huge differences can be made in interdisciplinary education, such as medicine, public policy, and social work. I believe it is important for us all to understand that the society we live in is built around white heterosexual middle to upper class men, and each step you take away from this identity makes it harder to be a member of society with equal rights. Many LGBTQIA individuals may be 3, 4, or 5 steps away from that. For example, a Black lesbian female who is poor has the potential to experience discrimination not only for her sexual orientation, but for her color, her class, and her sex. This should all be taken into consideration in a counseling setting so as to not reduce an individual or their experiences. After furthering my knowledge on this group, I can say that I have a newfound admiration for anyone in this community. I can see how I have taken advantage of my rights throughout my adolescent years without even knowing it. Moving forward, I know I will have a better understanding on how to talk and handle situations when dealing with this community. Finding out more about this group has made me want to further my knowledge in all other groups as well. Overall, the LGBTQIA community has a massive potential to positively impact the counseling process if they are given equal access to services and placed with competent, respectful, and culturally aware counselors. As a group, I find some of their main concerns to be freedom of expression and freedom from oppression, which is something I truly believe everyone can learn and benefit from. Thank you.